I pray that God's word is spoken and that God's word is heard. Amen. Please be seated. By your endurance, you will gain your souls. Welcome to pre-Advent. If you thought the readings today were a little Isaiah heavy and apocalyptic and it felt more like Advent than the end of the season after Pentecost, you are not wrong. This is that funny season as we wrap up the season after Pentecost and before we really dive in and get down to it with Advent in just 2 weeks. Crazy is that? If you recall, this is going to be a bit of work. This has been a long time. The first Sunday of Advent last year was when we re-engaged Luke's gospel. And the passage we heard was the second half of chapter 21 of Luke's gospel. So if for fun, you want to read all of 21 later today, I actually commend that to you. We will then hear in 2 weeks Matthew's version of this very story. Advent is always that time when we get into the apocalyptic literature, particularly in the Gospels. And so it's good to remember what this apocalyptic literature really is. It is not fortune telling. It's more like reading the headlines. It's a prophetic voice into that present moment. And when you think about the apocalyptic literature we most often consider, we think of Revelation. Often apocalyptic literature is written in code language because it's written to oppressed people in horrible times who are under such duress that if they don't use code language, when the note gets passed, if it gets intercepted, there could be real trouble. So it's kind of like, using Signal, multiple layers of encryption, right? Because they are in that much danger. So this is true of the early church. It's true of the community that we hear the author writing to in 2 Thessalonians. The message is one of hope. No matter how bad it seems in the present time, and even if it's going to get a whole lot worse, in the end, God wins, love wins, and in the meantime, we all got work to do. Every single one of us. Now, if we start back in the Isaiah passage from Isaiah 12, that's early Isaiah, 8th century Isaiah, warning about what's happening because of the Assyrians about to take down the northern kingdom. And again, it's about to get much worse, right? But what's incredible is, actually, I take that back. That's the first song of Isaiah. We'll get there. Isaiah 65 is actually the conclusion of all that difficulty, starting with the destruction by Assyria, eventually the destruction by Babylon, the exile into Babylon. You know how all summer long we spent hearing from those prophets? How many weeks did we have to spend in Jeremiah and Lamentations? Holy moly, that was a lot, right? But this is the grand conclusion of all of that. Despite all that pain and all that difficulty, behold, I am doing a new thing. And it's a transformed world. And all those things that break our hearts and make us weep now will be no more. The sound of weeping will not be heard of it, nor the cry of distress. No more shall there be in it an infant that lives but a few days, or an old person who does not live out a lifetime. They shall build houses and live in them. They shall plant vineyards and eat their fruit, acknowledging that predation is not limited to the animal kingdom, right? We hear that the wolf and the lamb shall feed together and the lion shall eat straw like an ox. So we see the predator and prey becoming vegetarians and eating together at the end. But these earlier verses are acknowledging that our human society can often be predatory as well. So someone can build a house and have someone else steal it, or plant a vineyard and have that hard work taken away from them. And what we hear Isaiah saying is, in this new reality, that injustice will be no more. And all the things that break our heart, all the things that make us weep now, will be no more. Similarly, in Luke's passage, we hear really the antidote to those Facebook memes we sometimes see when someone says, hey, I read the news and I read Revelation and the end is near. What Jesus is saying is not when you see all these things happen, the end is near. He's saying the opposite, isn't he? When you see all these happening, you're going to hear people saying, hey, it's me. Hey, I'm here to fix everything. Don't listen to them. Don't go after them, he says. This is just the way this broken world is. It's going to happen. That is, sadly, life right now. But you know what all those heartbreaking realities and scary realities give you, brothers and sisters? They give you an opportunity to testify. They give you an opportunity to be a witness to God's dream, to be a witness to what God is up to in this world, a witness to the transformation God yearns for in this world, and to quote from that first song of Isaiah, sing the praises of the Lord, for he has done great things. Make his deeds known among the peoples. When we see wars and rumors of wars, when we see natural disasters, when we see so much heartache in this world, that is our opportunity to insist on God's love. That is our opportunity to show up and be God's love. That's our opportunity to surrender to transformation in our own lives, that this world can be transformed. God needs us to get to work. In the meantime, God's got this and God will do this, but God expects us to get with the program and be part of it. That is what our baptismal covenant is all about. That is what this baptismal candle means. We had a baptism last night. We actually had two. Dax and Laszlo, brothers, 5 and 7? 7 and 9? 7 and 9. Wonderful, wonderful little guys. Very ready to be baptized. It was amazing. It was so beautiful. But it was an opportunity for all of us to remember that our baptism isn't simply a ticket to heaven. Our baptism is our commissioning to be God's people in the world, to bring love and grace and mercy and transformation into the world as God's agents in the world. So we left the candle up today to remind ourselves of those promises we make in our baptism, the commission God gives us in our baptism, and the promise that we do this with God's help. Surely it is God who saves me. Indeed, this message in 2 Thessalonians is not to be taken out of context, though it is very tempting for some people to use this in really abusive ways, and we've all seen it. This is not about an economy with radical income disparity, where some people, even if people work, are hungry. This is about a whole bunch of oppressed people, frightened, but who think the end of the world is so near they don't need to work or do anything or be about God's work in the world. In fact, they're being so lazy, they're bored, and they're messing in each other's business. They're mere busybodies. They are gossips. That is what this passage is about. Don't be about other people's business. Get about God's business. Get about doing God's work in the world. Thank you. I heard that. Amen, indeed. So yeah, the world out there, those headlines we read can be horrifying. But the message we hear today is that in the end, God wins and love wins. And meanwhile, we've got work to do.